Most people think HVAC is just fixing an air conditioner whenever it breaks. But the truth is, this trade quietly keeps homes livable, hospitals running, food cold, offices breathable, and families comfortable year-round. So what does an HVAC technician actually do all day? Well, in this video, I'm breaking it down in the simplest way possible, so by the end, you'll understand what the job really looks like, why it matters so much, and whether it's a trade worth paying attention to. When most people hear HVAC, the first thing that comes to mind is air conditioning, maybe a furnace. Maybe someone showing up in a van when the house is freezing in January or boiling hot in July. But HVAC technicians do a lot more than most people realize. And that's exactly why this trade matters so much. The easiest way to think about HVAC is the trade that helps make indoor spaces actually livable. It's about heat, airflow, cooling, ventilation, comfort, and even in a lot of cases, air quality as well. That means the work touches homes, apartment buildings, schools, restaurants, stores, office buildings, hospitals, warehouses, and a whole lot more. The funny thing is, when HVAC is working properly, almost nobody thinks about it. But the second it stops, it becomes the only thing that people care about. That's really the heart of the trade. HVAC technicians deal with systems people depend on every single day. And even when they don't notice it, the heat comes on, the air moves, the room feels normal, the building stays usable, and life keeps going. That's what makes this one of the most important jobs, no matter what is happening in the economy. Buildings still need climate control. People still need clean moving air, and equipment still breaks. A simple way to picture a normal day is to imagine solving comfort problems for real people. One call might be a family waking up to a freezing house in the middle of winter. Another might be a small business where the rooftop unit stopped cooling and now customers are uncomfortable. Another could be a restaurant with a refrigeration issue that suddenly turns into a very expensive problem if it is not handled correctly and quickly. So even though HVAC is mechanical work, the big part of the job is really problem solving. Something feels off, sounds wrong, got a weird smell to it, it isn't heating, it isn't cooling, or it's just not working in the way that it should be. And the technician has to figure out why. A lot of the day starts before the first wrench even comes out. Usually it begins with looking at the schedule, checking what calls are booked, loading up the van, making sure the common parts and tools are there, and then heading out to the first stop. That part alone tells you something important about the trade. HVAC isn't usually one fixed desk, one fixed room, one repetitive setting all day. A lot of the work happens out in the world. Different houses, different buildings, different problems. Then once the technician gets to a job, the first real task is usually not fixing. It's understanding the situation. What is the customer noticing? When did it start? Is the room too hot or is it too cold? Is the airflow weak? Is there a weird noise? Did the power bill suddenly spike? Is the system turning on and off too often? All that matters because HVAC isn't just about the equipment. It's about the symptoms. The person in the building usually doesn't know what failed, but they do know what has changed. And then from there, a lot of the job is inspecting and diagnosing. In simple terms, that means checking the system, seeing how it's behaving, and narrowing down what's wrong. Sometimes the problem is minor. Sometimes it's a worn out part, poor maintenance, and it's just building up over time. And sometimes the equipment itself is old and starting to fail in a bigger way. So the day can shift fast from a quick service call to a deeper repair. That's one of the biggest things people misunderstand about HVAC, is not just installing air conditioners. Some technicians spend more time doing service and repair, kind of like myself. Some spend more time on maintenance. Some focus on new installation. Some work is mostly in houses. Some work is in commercial buildings. Some get into refrigeration. So when people ask what HVAC techs do all day, the honest answer is they keep the indoor systems running. And that can look different depending on where they work. Now, maintenance is a huge part of the trade, and it's one of the least understood parts as well. A lot of people only think about HVAC when something fails, but a technician's day often includes preventing that failure in the first place. Cleaning components, checking filters, inspecting parts, testing how the system is running, spotting wear early, and making small corrections before they become something big and expensive later. That kind of work may not sound dramatic, but it saves people a lot of money and stress It's one of those things where the better the work is done, the less attention it gets because nothing goes wrong. Then there's the repair work. And that's what most outsiders picture. This is the side of the trade where the stakes feel more immediate. Someone has no heat, no cooling, poor airflow. Maybe the system is making an awful noise. Maybe a business can't open properly until the issue gets sorted out. The technician has to arrive, stay calm, figure out the cause, and get that system back online. That's why HVAC has a strong troubleshooting side. It's not just working with your hands. It's also thinking through the problem step by step and not guessing your way through it. The installation side is different. That's less about chasing a problem and more about putting in new equipment properly so that the building can be comfortable from the start. That might be a house getting a new furnace and AC, a renovation project, or a commercial space needing some type of climate control. This side of the trade often rewards people who like building, planning, and seeing a finished result at the end of the day. Install work can feel more like creating the system that makes the whole space function. What also makes HVAC unique is that the job changes with the season. In hot weather, cooling calls ramp up fast. In cold weather, heating calls take over. During those peak seasons, the job can get intense because when temperatures swing hard, people stop treating HVAC like a luxury and start seeing it as what it really is, a necessity. That's why this trade has so much staying power. Comfort sounds soft until you're the one without heat in the winter or without cooling in a heat wave. And that's another side of this that people outside of the trade often miss completely. HVAC is not just about temperature. It's also tied to air movement, humidity, and indoor equality. EPA says people spend about 90% of their time indoors, which means the systems inside buildings affect daily life more than most people realize. So when an HVAC tech is doing the job properly, it's not just about making a room feel warmer or colder. It's about helping that space feel healthier, more usable, and more comfortable overall. That's why this trade shows up in places people don't always think about. Grocery stores, they need refrigeration. Hospitals need controlled environments. Schools need ventilation. Restaurants need cooling and air movement. Office building needs people to be able to function without the place of feeling stuffy or miserable. Even newer growth areas like data centers depend on temperature and humidity control. BLS specifically notes new data centers will require clean air, low humidity, and temperature control, and HVAC-R workers will be needed to maintain those systems. So what does the job feel like day to day? Well, it's hands-on, it's practical. It feels like moving from one real-world problem to the next and leaving places better than you found them. It also feels human. You're walking into homes and businesses where someone is uncomfortable, frustrated, even stressed and worried about the cost. So even though this is a mechanical trade, people's skills matter more than outsiders expect. What you have to do is explain things clearly to keep people calm and help them understand what's going on without making them feel lost. This is one reason why I think HVAC is such a great trade for people who want variety. You're not doing one tiny task all day in one corner of a building forever. There's movement, interaction, problem solving, and you even get visible results from the work that you do. You can often look back at the end of the day and say, that family has heat again. That cooler is running. That building is now comfortable because I solved those issues. Now, I also want to keep this real. It's not easy work. You can be in tight spaces, hot attics, cold rooftops, awkward basements, and uncomfortable conditions. So this is not a trade for somebody looking for effortless work. But for the right person, that challenge is part of what makes this job satisfying. You feel useful. You feel needed. You're doing work that has obvious purpose. And that's probably the clearest takeaway in this whole video, is HVAC techs are not just fixing machines. We are restoring comfort, protecting food, supporting businesses, helping buildings function properly, and making everyday life work in the background. That's why this trade matters. It's one of those careers that most people don't fully notice until that moment fails. And then suddenly it becomes one of the most important jobs in the world. So when somebody asks you what HVAC technicians actually do all day, the simplest answer is this. They solve comfort problems, keeping buildings functioning and handling the systems that make indoor life possible. Some days that means maintenance. Some days that means repairs. Some days that means installing brand new equipment. But every day, the job comes back to the same idea: keeping people comfortable, safe, and able to use the spaces they depend on. And for everyone watching this who's been curious about the trade. Maybe you're thinking about a career change or just trying to understand what the industry is really like. I hope this video gave you a clear picture. HVAC is one of those trades that becomes more impressive the more you understand what's really behind it. It's practical, it's needed, and it affects almost everybody, whether they realize it or not. And if you want honest, simple breakdowns of how the trades really work, that's exactly what this channel is here for. So stick around, because there's a lot more in the skilled trades world that most people never get explained properly.